Right, it's 9 a.m. here in Montreal, 3 p.m. in Norway with the amazing and good friend Anna Moxnes. Hi, Anna.
Hey up, Regan.
How are you, love?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It looks like we're on telly, like when we're on telly together.
I know, isn't it good? I miss those times. Bring them back.
Is this your house?
This is my house, yes.
So tell us exactly, you're in Voss, are you? Whereabouts are you located in Voss?
Like right in the center of town, pretty much, overlooking the lake downtown. I worked it out yesterday, actually, because we used to live out on like an old abandoned farm, which was 20 minutes out up a valley with a road, one road in, one road out. Yeah. And I loved it there. It was magical. And not so many people would come by. And then like we generally moved our way through. So it was like, then we were living in a tent on the drop zone, and we lived in a caravan on the drop zone. And we upgraded to a room on the drop zone. And we slowly moved west until we landed in town.
When does the season start in Norway? When does jumping begin? In May?
May, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you've got a lot going on, Anna. Just a bit of a recap where you're at. You've got your joy riders, that's your female team stuff. Mm-hmm. Zion, your Norwegian team. Mm-hmm. You got your agency, the Edge agency. We can touch on that a little bit. You've started gliding. Is there anything else I should know about? Skiing.
A little bit of music going on now and then as well.
Yeah. In fact, you've just done a lovely production for somebody's birthday. Tell me about that. Yeah,
it was Shannon's 50th birthday. Yeah. And Shannon Pilcher, world famous, world champion, world class. And so Bruno calls me up and he's like, it's Shannon's 50th birthday. I was like, yeah, I know. And he's like, should we do a song? I was like, okay, cool. And you know what it's like when you do a song with Bruno, usually we've had a glass of vino, you know, we're standing around the piano and you take the piss out of someone and it just rolls off your tongue like absolutely no problem. Ha ha ha, funny, done and dusted. 5 minutes.
You never have to hear it again.
Never have to hear it again. Now, I was doing it for a friend who I really care about. He's the husband also of one of my Joyrider team members. Yeah. And I wanted to like strike the right balance between really taking the piss out of him and showing how much we loved him. Yeah. So I thought about it a lot. It took us about a week to get it all together, actually. So, but it was really, really fun to do. And I got to speak to Bruno every day, which was awesome.
So how do you do that? You record your piece while he's listening, or does he do a backing track? How does it work?
So Bruno sent me over like a couple of snippets of music and said like, which vibe should we go for? And I was like, blues, obviously, thinking that that would be the easiest. Yeah. And so then he went mega, recorded a blues track, sent that to me and said I was to write the song, the lyric. And I think it's really awesome of Bruno because he stayed on me because he knows what I'm like. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. I had so much resistance to doing it because I've never recorded anything before, right? So every time I hear my voice, I was just like, oh my God, I fucking hate it. You know, like, So I'm like, no, I can't really do it tonight because, you know, but by the end of the week, there was papers all over my desk and like, Yeah.
He asked me to do a little voiceover for a short movie he was doing. And again, I was like, yeah, no problem. Like 10 minutes later, hi, have you done it yet? Oh, okay. Yeah. I better get set up.
No, well done him. It's good. It's really good because it's awesome thing to be able to do, right? It's kind of like the recording stuff is like, it's training, you know? And I'm used to that from skydiving, obviously, like debriefing myself. It's absolutely crazy that I would never debrief myself on the singing stuff. Right. So now I got to that and and now I can just hear the song going around and around.
It's really good.
There's the mistakes.
Really good. So the pandemic, no travel. How long have you been in one place, Anna?
It's how long since we started. We were training in DeLand, which is our winter home, and we had to come home quickly. And we've pretty much been home ever since. I did one trip in the middle of the summer to Dubai when we had lesser travel restrictions. Yeah. And that's it really. So total life change. Yeah.
How have you found it?
I mean, all the things in my house are fixed now. So I want to go back on the road.
Yes. It's been a lovely year, but let's go.
Good to go. It was really nice to reconnect we've done heaps of renovation. It was cool. Yeah. But I learned how to knit, did a bit of baking, over it now.
Right. Yeah, I think, I mean, me and Lise before this, we'd had 4 weeks together. So now we've had over a year together. Yeah. It's been all right now, but I think she's getting close to stabbing me. So probably
Isn't it? Oh, it's going to be interesting to see. I've said that a lot these days. It's going to be so interesting to see and how we move forward, because it's not going to be the same, I don't think. So yeah, and the value I completely changed the value I place on my time now these days, right? Because it's really given me an insight to how valuable time is. Yeah. So that's a hugely positive effect. I'm talking about positive effects because I know that it's been like incredibly difficult for some people and for everyone in one way or another. Yeah. So not that I take it lightly, but I think that there's not much else you can do but focus on what we've learned from this experience.
Yeah. It really has taught us to value the moments, because when you're jumping or organizing or training, the days can just fly by, can't they? Weeks and weeks and months have gone. But I think we really have the seconds now. The seconds are really important.
Yeah. I miss jumping where I organize in. I miss that connection with my students and my groups, I really, really love that. I mean, I've been so fucking lucky and fortunate in my life to just always do a job that I was like, wait a minute, do I get paid for this? It's fucking cool. But yeah, now I value it even more highly now.
Yeah. Well, let's go all the way back, Anna. Right back to the beginning, growing up on a drop zone. Woo, let's put the wobble effect in. You're part of one of those UK dynasties of skydiving, the 3 generations. There's not many of them around, but there's a few. What was it like? Were you aware when you were growing up on a drop zone that you were actually doing something which not everybody else does, or not?
I don't think so. Looking back now, I think I was bloody lucky to have that kind of upbringing. I was mixing with kind of adults most of the time, and they took the piss out of me a lot. Yeah. So you had to develop a quick wit to survive as a drop zone kid, basically, which has definitely stood me and my sister in good stead afterwards. She's a professional comedian now. So I don't know, it just was life, and that's what we did. It was both my parents, my mum had the cafe and the bar, and my dad was running the drop zone, so they were working a lot for sure. That's something that you notice, but that would mean that my nan would always be around, and she was probably the coolest woman ever to live, so I was okay.
I mean, your mum and dad, badass skydivers in their own right. Your mother, how many skydives did she end up doing? Quite a few thousand, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's about 3,000 or 4,000.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And then Dangerous Dave.
Oh, all of them. He did all of them.
Yeah, he did all of them. And he written them all. And he logged them all as well.
He logged them all with pictures and drawings, and knows the AI is excellent. And I wish I'd done that. I'm jealous of him now. I used to think like, oh God, that's so stupid. Now I look at his books and I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's a journal, isn't it?
It's so good. Exactly. It's a journal. Exactly.
Log your skydives, kids.
Log your skydives. Yeah, all the kids now like, I've been journaling every day, my dream journal. It's just one book. It's fine.
So did you, as a kid, did you think you were going to be a skydiver, or did you not think about it? Or when did you start thinking about it? Because it's not always, just because you're a skydiving kid doesn't mean you're going to be a skydiving drop zone kid doesn't mean you're going to be a skydiver, is it? Yeah,
I was really, like, my parents were for sure my heroes when I was a kid, and still in many ways. And I really, really wanted to be a skydiver when I was younger, like maybe up until the age of about 11.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool, and I was really into all the aircraft and just hanging around all the time and be at the back of every course. You know what I mean? They used to have these little ramps to do the PLF.
Yeah.
Parachute landing pool.
Yeah.
So the static line course would be running around it, and I'd be like running on the end and jumping off and doing my roll. So I was really, really good at PLF, which I needed later. But then you become a teenager. I got into music and boys, and like that was it. I was off, and to be a rock star then. So
were you singing when you were little? Were you singing
a lot? Yeah, I was I'm more like a parrot. Do you know what I mean? Like I used to put on, and I have a little bit of a kind of neurotic sense of I want something to be right.
Okay.
So like I would repeat notes until it was like, and it would be annoying to me until it was like right. So I would just repeat things again and again and again. And those would be songs that I liked.
I mean, you won't say it yourself, but we all know you've got a phenomenal, powerful singing voice. A really, really very strong, distinctive style. What were you doing with it? Did you get gigs? Don't embarrass you. I don't embarrass you, but it is. You know, you have got a very good voice. We all know that.
Regan. No, I think I have. I've always really enjoyed performing, but I don't think that I've got any special, like, I mean, voice, you know, like there's so many amazing vocal talents out there. I could definitely train it to be better, which comes around to this recording thing. But I was always really good at performing. Like if you were going to come to a show where I was singing, like you were going to leave having had a fucking good time. You know, your money that you spent on that ticket was worth it. You know, we would be dancing on the tables. We would be having a badass time. And you leave a little bit of your soul in every performance, I think. And I've done a lot of performing.
Stage presence, reading a crowd, bringing a crowd alive. I mean, it's a very special talent.
Yeah, you can do that as well. Not Regan, not Mac.
Ladies and gentlemen. So clubs, you were running clubs at an early age. You were running nightclubs. Yeah,
that kind of all tied into the music as well, because I was touring with a soul band, but I was just a backing singer. Like my job was like ooh, 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 you know, sparkly dresses and all this. But I got to really into soul at that point as well then. But yeah, then I had the aspirations to be a nightclub manager and run really, really big clubs, and I did in the capital city of Wales, in Cardiff.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a section of life that I had. And I think I was 20 or 21 at the time. And
were you full-time on it? Was it your full-time living?
Yes. And I was studying, I was also studying equine management in college and singing on the weekends sometimes. So it started, as the singing started to slow down, the nightclub stuff picked up.
So what year are we talking about now? When?
I have no idea. I can't remember. I was 20. So whatever that makes, like 20 years ago, nearly.
20 years ago. I can't work it out. What's 20 years ago, Lise?
90s. It's 1991. 91.
Is that 20 years ago? That's not like 10 years ago, no? Oh, wow. It's madness. And so through the 90s, what was going on in the 90s? Because you didn't go to Imperial Bravo until like the mid-2000s, wasn't it? I think we arrived there at the same time.
That's true. Yeah, maybe it was later than that then, because I feel like I came to, maybe we got so it's the 2000s, the end of the 90s.
Right.
So 2021. That makes sense.
Yeah.
God, well done.
You got there at the end. Everybody's watching, they were screaming at it. It's 2000, whatever it was. I don't know.
2000, Jesus. Man, I remember that doing a gig for the year 2000, and it was the biggest hailed, like everybody was supposed to get millions and millions. It was the worst New Year's Eve ever.
Why?
You were a DJ, weren't you? Weren't you DJing around that time?
2000, yeah, I was. I was in Newcastle. I was married.
Oh, bloody hell.
No, I wasn't. It was later.
We've been sticking with that too long. We don't know what's going on anymore.
What was your gig? Yeah. Where was it?
Oh, it was actually in a big nightclub on the end of a pier in Swansea, and it was it was a packed gig, but the expectations for that was so high. Actually, that might have been the one where Bonnie Tyler came.
No.
And I sang with Bonnie Tyler. It was really cool. And she was so nice. And she was so nice to me. And she was so tiny. And I remember being like, shit, fuck, it's fucking Bonnie Tyler. You know? And we got, as backing singers, we were allowed to sing like 3 songs a night.
Yeah.
And she'd look through the list before. And she said, oh, I'd like to sing that one. And I was like, bitch, she's going to take one of my songs. And then I got a bit with it, and it was amazing.
Wow. I didn't even know. We're learning good stuff here. Wow, Bonnie Tyler.
And you know, actually, the drummer of my band then, his name's Ben Stone. He's wonderful. He's very smart, incredibly talented drummer. He's Tom Jones's drummer now.
Is he?
Yeah. And Tom Jones is like royal family in Wales.
Yeah,
so I feel connected to the Welsh royal family somehow, you know?
Well, it's not unusual.
Yeah.
It's not unusual, no.
No, not. Boom, boom.
Thank you very much. I'm here all week. Wow. So, right. So, early 2000s, you moved to Imperial Bravo. Did you just decide to do a skydiving course, or did you want to go and work in it, or what? What were you doing?
I'd been doing the music and the touring for 7 years, and it was amazing. But we had a set that we did, and I was like 21, 22 or something, and I was kind of over it, you know, like I didn't want to sing the same songs anymore. So I decided to leave the band after 7 years, and it was like I love that band. They were the awesome humans, all of them. And Kevin, my uncle, he'd been on to me all the time, like, you got to do your AFF, you got to do your AFF, you got to do your AFF. And then I was like, yeah, go on then. So I went to Spain to do my AFF, and then I never really left. Because
how did you feel about that? How did you feel about committing to it, like deciding to go? And
I think it was really awesome timing, because I'd spent the last 7 years being everything involved as well with kind of rehearsing and performing. So it came at a very good time for me to throw myself into something else ridiculous.
Yes. How did you feel about AFF?
Oh, yeah, I wasn't going to do it. I mean, as in from the jump one, I was really scared, which I'm sure everybody is, right? But I think it almost surprised me. I didn't expect it to be that scary, because maybe I went into it a little bit like, yep, I grew up around this, like no big deal. Right. And then I did jump one, and I was just paralyzed with fear pretty much. And
well, after it or during it, or
no, after it.
You're right.
No, I was not. Everything went fine on the jump, like absolutely no problem. I did level 1 and level 2. And like then I was trying to explain to Kevin that I'm really scared, you know, and he would say things like, don't worry, it's a beautiful day to die. And I'm like, doesn't help. And then we had 2 days of Tramontana, or 2 or 3 days of Tramontana, which is the strong wind there. So that was really good, because I had a time to sit on the ground and process everything that was going on.
Yeah.
And I spoke to my mum, and she said, we won't judge you if you don't want to be a skydiver. With practice wreck now, I believe, like, was that my mum calling me a pussy?
Yeah.
And yeah, so then on jump 3, Kevin, it was just me and Kevin, which was nice. And he let me go and flew around the front. And in that moment, I really had this overwhelming sense of like, oh, I'm doing it. I'm flying. Right. And then the fear was exchanged for empowerment. Yeah. And that was, that moment for sure, what changed the next 15 years of my life.
Easily. And how did you feel about being on the canopy? Did that seem okay to you? Were you scared of heights, or did it feel all right?
Fine. I'm blind in one eye, so that was more of a concern for Kevin. I think that he was very good at explaining the canopy stuff to me and how I was going to deal with the landing, because they were worried about my depth perception. Yeah. But it didn't. It's fine, and it's just as much as you need depth perception to drive the car, and it was fine for the landing. But as the same with any student, I sucked the beginning, you know, like I hit it's a huge open field in Imperial Bravo, right? Yeah. And one time I think on the 2nd or 3rd jump even, I crashed into that one windsock in the middle of the field, like the only thing there. And then I didn't do that again, because that really fucking hurt. One way to learn, right? I also one time didn't flare. That was the last time I didn't flare. I didn't walk. I couldn't walk for like a week. Yeah.
We go through it, don't we, when we're training? It's when we're learning, you know. No, it's true. So you finished your AFF, and were you planning on staying, or did you just think I'm just staying, or did you not think about it and just not make a decision? What happened?
Went home, broke up with my boyfriend.
Oh, you went home? You went back to the UK?
I went home. I was really excited when I went home to tell, like all of my friends and family, or my family, the people I was hanging around with, like how cool skydiving was. And I kind of met a little bit of resistance, what I felt from resistance, as is like, that's not really, like, that's not normal, you know? Right. My family, for us, it was very normal, and they were super proud that I'd finished my course. But for kind of the guys I was hanging around with at home, they were just like, yeah, that's nice. And if anybody should do that, men should do that, you know? It was a little bit like, I was like, this is weird. So, so I said goodbye to the boyfriend, went to Thailand for a month with my best mate. We had a great time, and then moved to Spain and took up skydiving.
And then you got a job. You were working in the one of the suit manufacturers in the Matter store.
Yeah, I was working, doing a little bit of everything. and behind the bar and a little bit of manifest and driving and doing gear hire.
Yeah.
A little bit of everything to get around.
So
and it was really worked on the drop zone because you'd get like 3 jumps or something a week. So it was a long time ago, but you'd only get like €3 an hour. So you could just about, if you did a lot of jobs, you could pay your rent, eat, and you'd be able to jump as long as you worked at the drop zone.
Yeah. That's such a big thing for people who want to get into the sport. Just get yourself to a drop zone, start doing some jobs. You know, you don't have to be a superstar. You don't have to be an instructor or a tandem master or a camera flyer. You just get there, start cleaning up, helping, and working.
All you got to do is work hard. It's no magic formula.
Yeah.
Work hard, be nice.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. And then, so you got to Norway for the first time, and you decided to stay there.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's pretty here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it anything like you thought it was going to be?
No, because Jan brought me here, right? So Jan is our common friend who owned one of the aircraft, Imperial Bravo, and where the Matter workshop was right out the back next to all the pilots' hangars, which was really great for me because I love to hang out with them anyway. And so I was really good friends with Jan, and I was always talking about like how great Imperial Bravo was, and it's the best place in the world, and nowhere else can ever beat it, and it's the only place in the world really to skydive. And he's like, "You need to get out of your bubble, girl." And I was like, "Whatever." And so he said, "I'll take you to Norway. I'm going to take the plane there for an event next week." And I was thinking to him, like, where's this Norway place? All I've heard about Norway is it's dark all the time. They have a lot of sheep and a very high suicide rate, you know? So I was like, why would I want to go there? And he's like, it's a really, really nice place. You should go. I was like, okay, then. So we arrived here in Voss, actually, flying this way, across the lake, but it was really low clouds. So didn't really understand where I was until we like popped down below the clouds. And then I was like, holy shit. Like it's scenery like I'd never seen before, you know? And then we land in this tiny little strip at the end of this little tiny mountain town. And everybody's out on the runway with their asses hanging out to welcome us. And I was like, I think I'm going to like this place.
Yeah.
In the planes, remember that used to be a thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Bring it back, I think.
Yes, that's right. It's all got a little bit too PC. So you met your future husband.
I did. I actually didn't meet him on that first trip though. I met him like a year later because I made some kind of girlfriends on that trip because I arrived from Spain in like shorts and t-shirt, having no idea about Norway. And it was cold here, you know, even in summer, it can be pretty cold. So there was these couple of girls that they took care of me and they explained like how to navigate the country and gave me wool and gave me a hat and explained what an in-hop was. And totally took care of me, absolute sweethearts. And about a year later, they were doing an event in the south of Spain. So I drove down from Imperial Bravo to meet them. And I was working for Sonic at the time, selling jumpsuits.
Yes.
So I went down to sell some jumpsuits and met Christian there.
Ah, so you met him in Spain? I didn't realize that.
In Seville.
Yeah. And then it feels like the next thing, you're on top of the world. You're in the tunnel, you're competing in the tunnel, your skills in the sky, dynamic four-way, right at the sharp end of what's going on. And, you know, you've been there. It is. Honestly, as an outside observer, that's where you are. You know, you really are, you know, an inspiration to so many people with what you've achieved and your drive and your commitment and your hard work. It is really admirable.
Thanks, honey. It's never felt like that. I've definitely been pushing very, very hard throughout my career, and I've loved every minute of it. But it always feels like an unattainable goal, right? You're always like, which is great because then you continue to get better. Yeah. You know, it's true. It's what drives us forward, isn't it? If you feel like you're at the top of your game, then you're going to relax and back off. So what's happening now? The teams. Tell us about the teams you're doing now. Competitively, we have Zion, and we represent Norway for artistic free fly.
Yeah.
And we were on our way to the World Championships last year, and then that was postponed until this year, and we'll see if it happens this year.
Yeah.
They opened the registration today, I think, but I think it's more we want to understand how many people will be able to attend in line with restrictions. So yeah, we're training all of the time, and if that's not in the sky, it's in the tunnel, and super excited to bring this routine, or bring this next routine to the World Championships, because we've all been flying together for a really long time now. We had a team member change, so Mox has been with us for the latter half, like the last 3 seasons. We had a team member the 3 seasons before, but he already joined us. He's such a high level flyer, you know, so he only raises the level of the team, and the dynamic is awesome. I was really afraid of being on a team with my husband at first, but it's been like a truly it sounds really gay, but it sounds like it's a gift, truly magical gift.
There's nothing wrong with that, Anna. All love is everything pales to one side if you've got love in your life. That's what, you know, that's
it's definitely not easy, like in the beginning, for us to work out how to navigate it, but now we've worked that out. Like, it's a super cool experience to be able to share that with the people that are closest to you in your life.
Yeah. Do you know, I didn't know you were blind in one eye, and I'm thinking now about your tunnel stuff and the speed of the dynamic flying. I mean, wow, how do you get away with that?
If you see a hole in four-way, you're in trouble, because there should never be, like, all of the places are filled by people all the time, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as you see a gap, you're like, that's the boom. I mean, yeah, it's I don't know.
Is the tunnel open right now in Voss? Is the tunnel open for everyone? It's closed.
Yeah, so right now we're probably in the deep depths of the absolutely no training. Only training that goes on now is like physical training.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully we'll be allowed to train in there again in the next 2 weeks, but we'll see, because I've stopped trying to work out what's coming.
Yeah.
And just, keep going with what we have today.
It's still closed because of the pandemic, right? Yeah, here in Montreal too. I used to be emailing the tunnel every week, can we fly? And now I just wait for them to let me know when it's open.
Yeah, we were open again for a period. That was super nice. Like, we actually drove, because normally we'd start training in October, November. So we drove down to Spain. We got to Imperial Bravo, that closed. We got to Castellón. We managed about 6 jumps there. We got to Algarve, skydiver Algarve, and we got 50 jumps in there, and then they closed. Right. So then we came home and we were back in the tunnel. We got to fly in the tunnel for a couple of weeks, and then they closed. So yeah, we do what we can. We do what we can,
and you know, we're in a privileged situation to have it available for us.
And also, it's a first world problem. Do you know what I mean? Like, overall, it's okay.
Yeah. Hashtag love. Oh, that's what your cup says. So you started gliding lessons, flying gliders.
Only, yeah. I actually a good story for you about this. So when we got home, the drop zone was closed. When we got home at the beginning of the pandemic, home from training in DeLand, the drop zone was closed, and I was going stir crazy, just not being able to do any of the sports that I usually do. And I could see the paragliders out, and we live right next to the gondola. So if I could take my speed wing, I would be able to go up. So I need a license for this. So I was applying for a license, and it was very difficult to try and get any courses because they were all full. Yeah. And then in the end, I was like, this. So I contacted the flight club and saw if there was any possibility to do any light aircraft flying. And they were like, yeah, come down this afternoon. So they got me into flying the little electric plane they have there, and also glider flying. And that was awesome. And I didn't get too much chance to do it last season, because we did get skydiving, and then we got back into training. We had the nationals to prepare for. But then I went now in spring again. I've done more flying just now at the beginning of the spring than I did all of last year, and was catching some thermals over on the ridge over there the other day. And there was also the paragliders there, and I was just like out flying them all the time. And I was like, wow, well, let me on your course. Got me a glider, motherfucker. Sorry, that was a little bit gloating.
No, it's fantastic.
It was very nice to be able to outfly them. So it was really nice. And I'm going to enjoy that for a long time. But my teammate, Andreas, our cameraman, he's a newer paraglider, but he's an excellent canopy pilot anyway. So he's flying paragliders a lot. So I'm really looking forward to us to be able to put all of our skills together, because I'll be doing some gliding. He's in the paraglider, Mox is in the helicopter. So that's like a goal for the future, that we can put all those things together.
Absolutely amazing. Well, what a great way to finish it. Skydiving, tunnel flying, glider flying, helicopters, electric aircraft and paragliders. If that's not an air sports interview, I don't know what is. I know it's been a brilliant catch up with you, my friend.
Loved you to talk to, darling.
And I hope to see you soon, and take care, and let me know when you're back in the sky.
I will.
Bye-bye, my friend.